And call the meeting to order. If you would please rise for the invocation.
Let us bow our heads. Our Father, we come to you this morning asking for your guidance and asking for your assistance, Lord. We know our country's in a mess, Father. We have a lot of sickness going on and a lot of other things. We ask you to be with all those that needs mending and help families, Father. Be with our soldiers overseas. Be with them here and their families, Father. We ask you to continue to bless this country. Father, bless this council and all that serve the Surf City residents. Father, we ask you to be with all of us who make our decisions this morning. In your most precious name we pray. Amen.
Don, you'll lead us in prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you all for being here so early this morning with your bright smiles. The first item on the agenda is the annexation petition, and I'm going to ask Carla to present.
This is for a 1.21 acre tract off of Coretta Drive owned by the Surf City Pet Hospital. And this is just the resolution to direct to investigate it.
You're just looking for a consensus here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are there any questions from any of the board members?
Let's move forward with it.
All right, everybody is in consensus. We'll move forward, Carla. Item number 2 is the Cape Fear Community College Scholarship. I think Kyle is going to present that to us.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and fellow council members. This item, as you'll recall, we discussed this a little bit during the budget process in regards to the town allocating funds to go to Cape Fear Community College for scholarship opportunities. And the clerk has been in communication with representatives from the community college, and they certainly are interested in providing this opportunity. And we're bringing this item to you to seek consensus on basically the premises that we handle this administratively. However, the caveat being distribution of any sort of scholarship is that it goes to a Surf City resident. We, in discussion, having somebody solely attend the Alston Burke campus may be a little limiting, especially when we have a lot of tradesmen type of opportunities down at Cape Fear, down in Wilmington. However, we'll work with the college to assure that individual is a Surf City resident, and then ask them to come to council after receiving said scholarship and present to y'all as far as the benefits of what that looks like. So just seeking consensus. You do not have to vote on this, but essentially providing direction to myself and the clerk to continue to work with the college and make sure this goes to a Surf City resident.
I got a question. Haven't we already done this? It's just a formality.
This is
This is what we've done in the past.
yes, sir.
What are we doing now?
So when we talked about this during budget, it was the funds were set aside there, but there was really no parameters in which I knew to go off of. And from what I recall, you guys asked to bring this back if there was a potential for a scholarship opportunity. So this is just solidifying that, and then we will move forward in administering this.
Well, it also had not been used for years. And so it was brought up, do we want to leave it there or not leave it there? And so that's what we talked about. It needed to be a Surf City resident if we wanted to leave it there.
I thought we had done that, and I thought we'd left that up to the manager to follow through and do.
Yeah, and I just wanted the clarification that if it doesn't go to somebody going to the Alston Burke campus here in Surf City, as long as we tie it back to the residency of the town, that we're okay to do that.
Right, that's what I thought we'd already done.
Okay, and then if that's clear, then I'm totally okay with it.
So is there a consensus from everyone?
Yes.
There is.
Okay, we will move forward to crosswalk flag policy. I think Chris Carter is going to present.
Mayor and council. This is for our new crosswalk flag policy. The purpose of this is just to make our pedestrians a little bit safer throughout the town. Pretty much as we're installing the new crosswalks for everybody throughout town, these will go up as the crossings come in. It'll be more or less just a flag that the person can pick up on one side of the road, carry to the other side just to make themselves a little bit more visible to the motorists and stuff. It will have instructions on every pole as far as what you do. My team will be going through, as they're doing trash throughout the day, they will be replacing the flags to make sure they're staying inside where they need to be at.
Chris, is that at every crosswalk?
That will be every crosswalk that we put in. So right now, I think we're going to be looking at about 17.
Sounds like a safe program.
Yes, ma'am, it will be. We are certainly hoping to keep everybody safe with this.
Again, this just needs a consensus.
It doesn't even require council to vote on it. This is just it'll be an internal policy guiding that program so that they know what to do in certain circumstances. But we'll maintain this and amend it as needed. Just a presentation for you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Item number 4, Parks, Recreation, Tourism, Town Slogan, and Jody will come up and present.
All right, good morning. So I have for you, we have been working with our subcommittee, both of our subcommittees on this for our slogan. So I present to you Surf City, your hometown beach. This is what we are looking to use for our marketing slogan within our Parks, Recreation, and Tourism department. And this can be used across the board for the town with all of our marketing.
Hometown Beach. Everybody like it?
I like it. I think it's good.
Any other discussion on it?
It's good.
Move forward.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
Item 5, the Terraces Plan, Phase 4, final plan.
Good morning. In your packet today is the request for the final plat of the Terraces Phase 4. Over the past year and a half, we haven't been following the policy as well, or the procedure as well as we have in the past, so we wanted to start working it back in that way and making sure that we were kind of following everything right. So this is why this one is coming before council and not going kind of straight to consent agenda. So from here moving forward, whenever we have final plats, we'll bring them to work session so that you're fully aware of what's going on with them, especially one like this where we've had some interested moves throughout the project, but we'll bring them to work session for discussion, and then they'll just be on consent agenda. So this project is Phase 4 of the terraces. When we originally approved the preliminary map, there were no phases on it, and Mr. Poindexter has been bringing in these phases throughout. So Charles Poindexter, the applicant, is requesting the approval of the final plat for Phase 4 of the terraces. We have approved 1 through 3, with the first phase being on March 2nd of 2021, Phase 2 on March 1st of 2022, and Phase 3 on August 2nd of 2022. Phase 2 received an approval with a condition that the houses being built adjacent to the cul-de-sac that did not meet our requirements could not receive a CO until that was completed. And then Phase 3, during the review of that, we noted that a fire hydrant was missing to meet our 500-foot spacing requirements, and the applicant agreed to put that in, so we moved forward with that. Fast forward to Phase 4, the cul-de-sac work had not begun. The fire hydrant was still missing, so we had some conversations with Mr. Poindexter internally, and the cul-de-sacs are currently under construction and are nearing completion. The fire hydrant work is underway, but we do have some issues with supply chain and whatnot, so that is being done. So Mr. Poindexter has requested that we do Phase 4 for lots 37 through 48, 51, 53, 57 through 60. The staff is recommending that we do not include lots 47 and 48 in there because they are adjacent to the cul-de-sac that is under construction and has not been completed. Staff is working very hard to bring you things that are correct and ready to move forward. So we are requesting that we remove 47 and 48 from this request, which would bring it down to 17 lots instead of the 19 lots that he has requested. And that would also bring the total down by 2, which would leave us about 14 more lots. Some of the, when you come into the terraces, the first cul-de-sac on the right has not been built at all, and he's not requesting that. And then there's a few additional lots around that cul-de-sac that he's not requesting. So staff request that this be on consent agenda for Lot 4, for Phase 4 final plat minus lots 47 and 48.
I just want to say, I mean, I'm going to do whatever is best interest in what your advice is, but that they shouldn't do anything until it's all fixed. It's a mess back there. It's the worst development I've ever seen. There's nothing right back there. They do everything piecemeal. They don't do sidewalks, then we got to go tell them to do sidewalks. They don't have a fire hydrant. There's garbage all over the place. It's absolutely, they have sitting water all the time for storms. So it's just, whatever y'all recommend's fine, but we shouldn't do anything with that. They should have to do everything right before we move forward. This is why we're in this Apple Trace thing. They need to do everything right before we move forward. So I know you're doing the right thing, I'm just saying. You know, it's frustrating.
Yes, sir, and some of the standing water on the roadway will be fixed when we put on the final lift of asphalt. We do have some subsurface drainage issues out there that were found once they started doing the grading. Those are being addressed, so we are working with them to get those things handled. And again, that's why I requested to leave out those 2 lots.
John, do you have any questions?
No, I'm kind of in agreement with Jeremy, because I've been back through there, and they should really get all their ducks in a row and get everything fixed before I think we go any further. I really think that, as I've seen it, it doesn't really look like it's anywhere as near. I mean, this has to be done, that has to be done, different things have to be done to make it right. So I'm in agreement with that.
Patty?
I just want us to be consistent with whatever we're doing. So down the road, when we have to get into court, if we get to court, that we have something to stand on and not inconsistency, because inconsistency will sink a ship. And there is a problem back there. There has been since day one. And I don't have a problem following your recommendation, but you need to keep the city in mind of what could happen down the road.
We do have a bond that's in your packet for some of that work that's not been completed, like the final lift of asphalt, some of the additional water items and whatnot. That is one of the reasons that we held them to the sewer punch list that had to be completed before I was willing to put this on agenda, was that was not covered in that bond. Again, with the cul-de-sacs, that's not in that bond, and that's why we requested to remove any that touched the cul-de-sac since the work wasn't 100% complete.
Amy, do they have all this? Do they currently have all their sidewalks in, or is it still like a puzzle?
It's still like a puzzle. So the majority of developers, when they come in, we do a bond for the sidewalk, and then they do the sidewalk as they build each lot. That way it's not destroyed during the construction process, and it's nice and new. So there will be missing sidewalk in there until the last lot is completed, just like in Waterside or Magnolia Reserve.
Yeah, you know, the crazy thing is what they have is you have houses, then you got empty lots, then houses. So you have people that walk on the street, they walk on the south, then they walk on the street, right? And the streets are narrow there anyway. He does the absolute minimum what he has to do. And then you're driving at nighttime. As an example, last night I was driving there, and I wasn't even on my phone, and I almost hit somebody. So there's no street lights. It's dark back there. The roads are narrow, and they were walking on the street. I was like, oh, that would have ruined my trip for tomorrow. Okay? Now, I'm just saying, you don't want to do that. And safety's an issue for people. And so I know we put those ballers up around the end. They shortcutted that sidewalk. You know, you don't know if the sidewalk is street or sidewalk coming down Alston Boulevard. So I mean, just nothing that he's been doing there lately has been great. That's for sure.
So I'm not sure why the sidewalk wasn't put in initially when Austin Boulevard was built. Obviously, that was before most of us. So there is a Duke utility easement through there, and that's what limited. I personally wanted the sidewalk, separated from the road just because it's safer. But there is a Duke utility easement that hopefully will become a part of our East Coast Greenway project, and we'll be able to work with Duke and get a multi-use path, grade-separated multi-use path in there.
Just concern for people's safety.
I agree
Yeah, for
completely.
sure, 100%, that's all. Just concern for people's safety.
And I drive through there all the time, and it's a mess. Do we have to prove this? I mean,
If it meets all the requirements of the final plat, then it's an administrative. Can we look at some of the other things with the safety concerns and whatnot? Yes, sir.
This is one of the things I was cautioning you about, being consistent.
yeah,
If they meet all the guidelines, and we've been consistent and we denied, we have grounds to stand on. If we haven't been consistent and we denied, then we open ourselves up.
yeah, I understand that, but is there some things that you can do that we can guarantee that these things are gonna be done and done right?
So as far as the sidewalk will go in as a part of it. The cleaning up and just the tacky appearance currently will continue to go away as as construction ends and they complete the lots. Again, a lot of the drainage will be worked out with the final lift of asphalt and the drainage, being corrected. The issues we're having with the underground subsurface drainage, they're working on now. It's something that, you dig through those hills back there and you hit things and then you kind of have to fix them. The gaping hole going into Dogwood Lakes, he is aware of that and is supposed to be repairing it. We still have the last plat to do it. There was some utility work. The utility work created that. He's going to go back and fix it. We talked to him about that, I believe, last week. We will continue to follow up on that.
I checked on the
Cul-de-sacs.
he has done, it's not complete, but he has poured the,
Carbon gutter and stone.
yeah,
And he had to move a fire hydrant back as well.
I'd like to see all the things that we're talking about put to sleep and fixed before we make any decision to go any further on this. I mean, that's just my opinion. I just, raising the road, fixing the drainage, doing that stuff, fixing the sidewalks. I mean, I think that should have been done as it was going along.
So for the asphalt, we as the town request that the final lift go on at the end. You have a work course and a final lift, so the work course is out there so that if any damage is done by the heavy equipment or whatnot, it's not on your final lift and you still have a smooth
Fair enough.
ride with good drainage. So
I understand. Fair enough. That's good. But
That sitting water, though, is definitely not over asphalt in the road. I mean, I watched them have to replace a door in a house because water was up to the door, so they ruined the door got ruined. They threw the door in their makeshift dumpster and replaced the door, so they didn't fix the water problem. So
we will go out there and look at it. If you can give me the lot number or the address next time you ride through there, if you'll just shoot me a text.
this is not a reflection on you or your department at all. So so don't
But
think that
if you see things like that, if you can just send me a quick email or whatnot, then I know exactly what to look at, for when I go out there. If I'm not out there when it's raining like that, it's hard for me to see some of the things. But I am happy to investigate.
for sure.
In the last several months, I have worked closely with Amy, and I think Prices gave his opinion on things that must be done before we move forward. And that's what we're trying to hold him to right now by removing the lots 47 and 48.
okay.
Got it.
So we just need a consensus here to move forward with that.
fine.
Got it.
Thank you, Amy. And item number 6, summer camp fee increase, when Jody will come back up.
All right, so in front of you, you should have the breakdown for the recommendation for summer camp for this year. So we will start putting out information to past participants and to the public that, summer camp will be starting registration in March. So this is falling in line with what we've been consistent with the last couple of years as far as our fees. So we're looking at a $20 increase. So $200 a week with a $30 sibling discount, so increasing that, the $5 to fall in line with what we've done in the past. We have seen, an increase in a lot of our summer camp field trips, as well as products. We do our best to make sure that we keep those items and costs low for our participants, but this will make sure that we're covering all of our costs. And at the end of the day, that's very important when it comes to our programs, is that we're covering those costs. So this is our recommendation to move forward with $200 a week and a $30 sibling discount.
Great to me.
Any discussion on the increase? No. Just the consensus to move forward.
Yes.
Roger.
Thank you. Item number 7, budget amendment, facilities and grounds.
Mayor, council, this is a budget amendment for $60,000 for new zero turns for the grounds department. The lease that Chad had originally signed has ended now. Unfortunately, these mowers, after 5 years, they're in rough shape. Down here, the mowers do not last that long. But so this will be to purchase, not lease, 4 new mowers. It'll be a 60, a 48-inch, and a 72-inch for the ground side, and it will be a front deck mower for Bob up on the ball fields and the multi-use field. By buying them and not leasing them, we will save $12,000 in interest. Plus, not having that monthly payment, we'll be able to set money aside. So about every 2 to 3 years, we can start rotating these mowers out. So this $60,000 is to purchase new mowers.
Good to go.
You gotta have them.
All right, thank y'all.
Thanks for saving us some money.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Item number 8 is budget amendment for the police department. Who's going to present that?
I can take it. Captain, no. I don't know if Chief set you up for success here, but this is a budget amendment to recognize the revenues had come in for the No Shave November program that the police department then turns around to do the Shop with a Cop program. And my understanding is that the revenue intake from the donations on the No Shave November yielded the largest amount that the police department has seen as doing this community program. So they did a good job with this, and this is just the fiscal piece of it to clean up the books.
Any discussion?
Make it so.
We have a consensus to move forward.
Yes. Yes.
Item number 9, budget amendment for the emergency management. James Horn.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Morning.
I'm requesting a budget ordinance amendment to the amount of $4,400 to be transferred from the general fund back to the EM supplies line. Those funds were expended to prepare the EOC for activation as well as Hurricane Ian response. May not seem like a lot of money, but it is 73% of my allocated supply line for the year. So if we could get those funds back, it would certainly be appreciated.
Roger.
Just need a consensus, no other actions.
I have no problem.
Good to go. I'm here.
You have a consensus. Thank you, James.
James, you should have asked for more.
Item number 10, budget amendment for public utilities. And David Price will come forward.
Morning, Mayor, Council.
In your packet's a budget amendment for $75,000 to go to stormwater. This money was originally allocated in the last fiscal year. Unfortunately, due to an error, my fault, it was not carried over, so it dropped into a fund balance. I'm just asking that that money be pulled back out of fund balance and reallocated to the Delmar feasibility stormwater study.
You're asking forgiveness.
Forgiveness, yes, sir.
You're forgiven. I have no problem with
Nope,
that.
good to go.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You need to
Thank
vote
you.
on- you need to vote on
We
that.
do need to make a motion on this one, so if I can have a motion to
I'll make a
approve.
motion, we transfer the money back into his fund.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 11, Fire Service Interlocal Agreement.
All right, so we've talked about this, and Chief, if you want to come up, provide any additional info. Working with Onslow County on the 3-cent set-aside that they have budgeted for within the current fiscal year, and then this interlocal agreement will continue that process for future fiscal years until that agreement is terminated. But essentially, 3 cents is being applied to our assessed value for properties within Onslow County, and then they have a formula that will then provide the final outcome, which is estimated still to be approximately $140,000 to be used for fire services, capital investments, et cetera. So this will essentially solidify this interlocal agreement. In exchange for this, the town will continue to provide cooperative agreement with North Topsail Beach, Holly Ridge, and portions of Onslow County for potential response if we have available services to respond to that event. So requesting the consensus to move forward, and then we can certainly vote on this in February. And then, Chief, if you have any other comments you want to provide, I'll.
No, I mean, the only stipulations in that interlocal agreement are specifically the background checks that's required from the state, which Lydia handles all of that stuff when we onboard volunteers as well as part-timers and full-timers. And then, of course, the mutual aid agreements, which are already in place and will be in place in perpetuity, because we need those services from them just as much as they need them from us. So, I don't ever see that changing. So those are the two specific things they're asking for from us, and we're already doing those things.
And things that we've talked about internally, is setting these funds aside for capital needs, whether that be building renovation or vehicles or something of that nature, as opposed to just general operating expenditures. So this will be a good identified source of revenue to be set aside for those future investments. So.
Any other questions?
Just a consensus to move forward here?
Let's move forward.
It's good.
I think Kyle is also going to handle item number 12.
Yeah, thank you again, Madam Mayor and Council. This is really just after 2 years of work in the business registration process. Amy's department, administrative up front, has done a fantastic job at working with our businesses. We have over 200 businesses registered within the town. Revenue brought in from those registration, as a reminder, goes towards our administrative cost for the additional module that we purchased for Viewpoint, as well as staff time doing the correspondence, doing enforcement, et cetera. Really, the only issue we have seen, other than just having another regulatory process, but is that the $500 failure to pay registration penalty is being confused with late registration. And when we communicate that to a business, they become very discouraged in the process and the ordinance. So I'm not recommending that we get rid of a late penalty or a failure to pay. However, I think that we can move forward and still achieving compliance by reducing the failure to pay from $500 to $100, but that will not negate their responsibility to still pay a late fee on top of that, as well as the annual $50 registration fee that is due, as we go into the fiscal year. So I'm recommending that council provide consensus on this to move it to the February regular meeting to amend that ordinance where that fee is documented. We'll continue to operate the business registration program. And again, having over 200 some businesses has been an asset to be able to work with not only our business community, but with our police department, with the chamber, et cetera. So overall, the program is going well. So just wanted to report that to you.
Could you spend a moment, which I'm in favor of this 100%. Could you spend a moment on, there's people do ask, what's the $50 go towards? The $50.
Yes.
Could you just spend a few moments? I know what it is, but could you do some explanation of that?
So that $50 really goes towards the administration of the program, and the real key ticket here is that we are assuring compliance back to our residents, back to visitors of businesses, that they are in compliance with zoning and fire code, because those are the two key responsibilities for the business registration program. So essentially that's taking care of that. I don't want to call it a technology fee, but it's taking care of the module that we had to purchase to manage this program, and then staff time to administer it. So really it's achieving through a business registration is making sure that there is overall compliance with everybody doing business in the town, and that there's an equal or level playing field, because we had seen going through this process that there are some businesses that may have been moving in and out of places. Maybe that's a strip mall that we didn't know about. They may not have gotten a zoning permit. They may not have known to get a zoning permit. I'm not going to cast blame like that on somebody, but this essentially tells every business that operates within the town that they are all meeting the same standards. So that's essentially the crux of the registration program. But there's additional benefits that the town is able to provide. Again, our website to not solely market, but to be able to have listed out by category retail establishments, food and beverage establishments. It's another opportunity for businesses to be recognized through the town, within our website as part of the registration program. The other thing that we're pushing on is, the non-punitive sort of damages when you don't register. So if a business gets nominated for Business of the Month and they're not registered, then we can let the beautification committee know that this isn't an applicable business that they can nominate, and that way we're not bringing folks forward and praising them for that. And it gives us an opportunity to contact them and get them in compliance. So.
And we have the luncheon that we meet with them each year too, correct?
Yeah, that's something that the mayor's office has certainly headed up. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cal, this would also assist in parking passes as well with those registered businesses, right?
Yeah, we can share. Again, this is a wealth of information that the town now has on all these businesses. We can share this directly with Pivot and tell them to reach out to them, get them registered, take out a step requiring the business to contact them. They could do a full email, or we can do the email and have them get up with Pivot or whatever. So again, just business processes through the town, that relationship with our business community. We have now these assets that council was certainly seeking when we implemented the program.
We just need a consensus to move forward.
Yes.
Are we gonna reduce that down to $100?
$100.
Okay.
Consensus,
Okay.
and then we'll vote on it in the council.
That's the only ordinance change that we're recommending.
Okay.
Are you okay? All right. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
We will move on to item number 13, which is the resolution for delegation of leasing authority, and Kyle will handle that as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the resolution that will get us started with the leasing authority to the town manager. Again, the statute only allows the manager to execute a lease for up to 1 year. Nothing beyond that, anything beyond that will have to come to council. There's been a few things that have come up with the old police department that we've been looking at. How can we potentially subdivide that space, have multiple tenants in there to provide, additional business opportunities within the town. And the clerk and I continue to work on trying to seek potential opportunities to redelegate that responsibility of management of leasing out commercial space to a professional within our community. We're not quite ready to do that. We've got some other items that we're working with the fire department, and so this will at least just get us started for a very small piece of this puzzle. We're ready to move forward with one or two potential very small leases, and then we'll continue to work this program and bring it back to council for recommendation and approval moving forward with a more substantial process and how that is going to work. But this will just kind of get us started, and we'll of course use proper forms, legal review of any lease that gets executed. We do not want to put ourselves in a bad landlord position, opening us up for any potential additional liability that may be associated with leasing space to a private entity or commercial venture. And I'm just seeking this for consensus to move forward for February.
I have no problem with it.
Anybody you have a comment?
No.
So we have a consensus to move forward.
Yes, we do.
Item number 14 is the American Flood Coalition resolution. And Kyle will do that as well.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. The American Flood Coalition is a nonpartisan group of cities, elected officials, military leaders, businesses, and civic groups. They're a 501c3 nonprofit organization which advocates for national solutions to flooding and sea level rise. As a coalition, they proactively address the growing threat of higher seas, stronger storms, and more frequent floods by advocating for smarter planning and investments that protect our nation's residents, economy, and military installations. I was presented with this opportunity at the North Carolina Byway Conference in Wilmington about a month or two ago. I had a speaking engagement there, and essentially this is we're not really committing anything from the town. It just opens up an additional resource for us to garner information from a larger perspective and potentially apply things to Surf City and our community from our leaders across the country. So they do request that a resolution be adopted. Our partners at the North and South, North Topsail and Topsail Beach, North Topsail has already adopted this resolution, and I believe Topsail Beach will be considering it for joining. But regardless of their action on this, I do think that this is another good resource that we can tie into for some potential future opportunities for Surf City, whether that be through grant funds, projects, or just simply advocacy on the national level or state level.
Any discussion?
No?
We have consensus to move forward
Yes.
with the resolution. Next item, number 15, Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission legislative priorities.
All right, so the TISPC has requested that each town review the list of draft priorities and legislative and work plan items for the year. So those have been presented within your packet. I can go over these if there's any questions on them, or if you just have questions, I can go over that, or I can go over every one of these strategies or priorities. But essentially, the state goals, we can pull those with state processes. There's certain things that are on here that we certainly mimic on our local side, but also we have our own items, federal goals. We'll use these in our trip to DC in March, and then the work plan goals. One thing is to continue the beach clean. Another item to point out would be some efforts to have a joint committee amongst the 3 towns for Vitex eradication, because TISPC feels very strongly that this is not a single town effort, that all 3 towns need to be doing the same thing with that. So again, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you.
Good.
And we don't need to take action or consensus on this, just a general presentation. So.
Any discussion? Item number 16, new residence packet.
All right, so, I clicked the wrong thing. Wanted to just go over with you something that staff has been working on to create a, I'm sorry, let me try to get here. Create a resource for, well, I'm trying to find my, here it is. Create a one-stop resource for new residents in Surf City so that they know where to find services, how to sign up for water bills, a little history of the town, your elected officials, committees and facilities. And what we've done is put this together hopefully in a simple format that people can utilize, and we can get our message communicated directly to those new residents, because there's a lot to learn when you move to a coastal town or a beach town like Surf City. So just wanted to give you a real quick rundown of what this looks like. As you know, we are updating our main town website, and a lot of this information will be able to be put over into that website in a more user-friendly format. So I'll just kind of scroll through this real quick. This is a very similar platform that we do the governmental update on, which is very easy to scroll and seek information that you need, especially with sort of a table of contents. So we have history of the town, the mayor's message, zoning map, and other interactive maps. Meet your mayor and council meeting information, how they can be involved in advisory committees, the town departments, our facilities and contacts, how to keep up to date, social media, code red, our beach accesses, our ocean rescue program, beach wheelchair program, the beach clean program, our parks, our town-sponsored events, parks, recreation, and tourism. You can see all the things that we wanted to put in here. So again, just a little bit of history of the town. Everybody knows that history. We'll plug in the mayor's message here, our boundaries map, and then this link will take you to the whole suite of additional interactive maps that our GIS department has put together, whether to find out what your trash route is, or whether your street is private or town-owned or state-owned. Somebody should conceivably be able to find most of the information they may be seeking. So got some pretty fine pictures here of our council, and we'll get those updated. Again, just a reminder for council meetings for the regular adopted timeframes. This won't cover any sort of news and announcements that we have to move our meeting to 8 a.m. Because the next day we have a canceled meeting that we needed to be at. So again, advisory committees, the Surf City departments, each one of these links will take you to their website, updated pictures of our facilities, going through, wastewater treatment plant, our water treatment plant, the website, all the resources somebody can get information from the town, our social media accounts, code red, our beach accesses, the ocean rescue program, the beach wheelchair program, beach clean, links to all of our parks so that they can see all the amenities that may be available. Somebody might not know about the Kenny Batts Park, or might not know about the Albury Park. So this will just give another opportunity to do that. get them in direct link with town-sponsored events so we can bolster participation with that. Parks, recreation, and tourism, beach parking, which I think generally is the number one visited site on our website, but how that works and disaster reentry, utilities, how to pay, the solid waste, what your trash pickup map looks like, emergency management, getting the information they need to be prepared. It's another thing that we want to make sure that we focus on with emergency management and communication is, the folks who keep sardines and batteries and candles. Those are the folks who are prepared. They know what to do in hurricanes. It's our new residents that really we feel are our focus. The police department and all the great community programs that they're doing. Our fire department and a car seat installation and smoke alarm program and home safety, our vegetative debris. So again, just a kind of a one-stop shop for all this fantastic information for people to help themselves. But of course, we're more than happy to help those folks if they call town hall or seek out assistance. But really just wanted to show you this asset and resource. We're going to put this out to the community. Wanted to share it with you first. Once we finalize some of those last pieces, and Alexis has worked really with all the departments in getting this information in one location. So,
Is it all web-based?
this is all web-based. Yep. So they can just click the link and find all the information that they may need.
You've done an excellent job. I think it's a awesome way for communication throughout our town and people that are visiting here as well. So I think it will be a very useful tool to many organizations, even like the Topswell Association of Realtors. They can share it with all of their agents and brokers that with their new clients that are moving into town. So it would save a lot of calls to our departments having this information there.
The educational component of it and the communication component is big, and we certainly need to do that. But going back and thinking, is there not a way to tie in our business with this frequently asked questions along with this website right here?
Yeah.
So they got one place to go to all of it?
Yeah, absolutely. We can put a business section, maybe a new business, and then put the registration program, the benefits of that, what their $50 goes to. Thank you. Appreciate that input. We'll get that in there.
What is the time frame that you'll have this up and running?
I mean, we could. We were waiting to get new photos from you all before we put it out there. Not that it's overly needed, but I mean, we can get this out in the next couple of weeks because it is substantially completed. So.
You don't need a consensus. That was just a
No,
presentation.
just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it, and particularly if we're going to push this out to the community.
All right, Mr. Fowler, thank you for making that suggestion. That's something that will benefit that as well. So we'll move forward to item number 17, department updates, and Kyle will handle that as well.
Yeah, so this is something that I'm going to put on the agenda for each one of your work sessions, and certainly would request feedback on this presentation and the information that is provided to you. Department heads are here if you have questions, but really what we wanted to capture beyond the governmental update that goes out every 2 weeks, but project statuses, what everybody is working on from each department, get that to council so you have the opportunity to ask those questions or gain additional clarification in case you get questions in the public about just what's going on in certain areas of the town. So without further ado, I'll kind of go over this information. If you have questions, please stop me and we'll try to get those answered. So starting with police department, for December stats, calls of service 427, business checks 3,491. Our drug drop box, which is located here in the lobby of the police department, for 2022 received 104 pounds of pharmaceuticals. And then our police department takes those pharmaceuticals and destroys them safely and according to state law. Going into some staff achievements, Colby Strickland was promoted to a detective position. He took over a vacancy that we had within the detective side of the police department. Officer Lum was promoted to Police Officer 1. Austin Benson received his North Carolina Intermediate Certificate. Current goals and projects. So police department continues to work just like every other department, budget work and preparation for the next fiscal year. The chief is working on the community policing report, which is going to be new and really will highlight all of the community policing programs that they have undertaken and expanded on over the last couple of years. They're studying the Central Square technologies to enhance their patrol operations. The chief is putting together their 2022 year in review report, and then the implementation of the IA Pro tracking software, which is a grant-funded project that helps track officer actions and provides advanced notifications or advanced warnings if there's something that potentially may be askew. So here's just some photos. This is Colby Strickland on the left, and then Officer Lum with Chief Voorhees and Mayor Batts receiving those promotions. And then the Shop with a Cop program, I mentioned it before, but highest amount of donations to date in $3,016. So all donations were from local residents, business owners, and our own officers and other town employees. I should add to that. The department allowed more kids to participate. That took place December 10th, 2022. Each child was able to go on a $300 shopping spree with the police officers, and then they all went to lunch following their trip to Walmart. The Lunch with the Law. This goes on over at the Surf City Elementary and Middle School. So in December, Chief Voorhees, Captain Johnson, Lieutenant Hauser, Sergeant Bailey, Master Police Officer Wyke, and Master Police Officer Failing participated with the Lunch with the Law program at the elementary school. Officers ate lunch with the second graders, took pictures, and passed out stickers. Parents and children, they love this program, but not as much as our cops do. So this builds a good base for children to be comfortable with police officers, and their next one is, or I guess was already took place on January 11th with third grade. So this is something that they're doing every month. And there's some photos I'll get to show you kind of what that looks like. The Booze It and Lose It campaign, again, was part of our governor's highway safety program, and these actions that we take allow us to obtain additional grant funding through that program. As I mentioned, the IA Pro, I think, was one of those programs, in-car printers, et cetera, that I've laid out here. The Citizen Police Academy, so we've began preparation for that. The agenda has been developed to go from March 9th to May 11th. So we're looking forward to this. Will be our second hopefully graduating class out of that program. I think that was a big success last year, and a lot of pride within our residents, to learn more about the police department. And they really do cover it all. I mean, they cover use of force. They cover the K-9 program. They cover, administrative side, emergency management. James is a guest contributor to that, and the mayor and I will also take part of the administrative, the front end of it. How we look at those things. So another good program. This is the Lunch with the Law images. So the kids look like they have a good time when they participate in that. This was the Shop with a Cop. Again, providing opportunities to kids that just might not have that opportunity, especially during the holidays. So, community development. So there's 15 projects in various phases of TRC, planning board and council approval. That's 10 site plan reviews, 2 rezoning requests, 3 subdivision requests, a 1 lot division, 1 final plat, and 1 major subdivision on island. The TRC meets the third Thursday of the month at 10 a.m. Previously, the meetings were held at 2 p.m., but the January meeting will be at 10. Planning Board meets on the second Thursday of the month. The next meeting is February 9th at 4 p.m. Agenda packets are posted on the website no later than the Monday prior to that meeting. So the Board of Adjustment, which is another sort of committee under planning, meets the third Wednesday of the month on an as-needed basis. They've met 6 times in the last 3 years. So you can see that variances and appeals are generally sporadic, and that's good. I mean, we don't need a ton of variance requests coming in, because that usually means that there's something going on with the code that we need to look at. So I generally look at sporadic BOA meetings as a positive thing. The Citizen Appellate Committee, this is one that will review citations, town ordinance citations. Anybody can appeal those to give them their due process. That committee meets monthly during the season, but quarterly in the off-season. Our next meeting will be held on March 23rd at 2:30 p.m. Things that they look at, they used to do a lot of parking tickets before we did parking management, trash cart violations, etc. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that is. Adoption of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan has been advertised for the public hearing to be held at the February council meeting. As you recall, we all met to go over some of the outstanding issues. Those have been rectified, and we're ready to get that plan adopted. So please look out for that. Staff met on the 18th to finalize the plan to move ahead with the right-of-way cleanup. There are certain actions that need to take place, updating our website, getting messages out to our affected first phase, getting some other processes. We're going to go through sort of a mock enforcement procedure so that can be carried through the administrative review process, and just so that we're efficient when we start to implement this program, and we will then know what to expect. So we will certainly communicate back with council before this goes out, but that project is certainly moving forward. And then code enforcement is currently reviewing the municipal code regarding general code enforcement guidelines. As staff completes their review, potential ordinance changes will be brought to work session for council's input. So other projects going on. So DOT, we've got a project, the R5900 or H174005. This is the construction of a quadrant system to improve the North Carolina 50 NC 210 intersection. And H193591 proposes a new 2-lane roadway from 210 to J.H. Batts Road. So this is the Coretta Drive right-of-way that's on record, continuing that down to Tortuga and Charlie Medlin to that roundabout. So we were able to work with DOT to get this through the express review process. So the traffic forecast on this project has been completed. Right-of-way date is 2029 with post-year construction dates. So that's something we're going to really need to work on to try to accelerate this project even more if we can. As we know, development along Charlie Medlin, the new apartment complex, et cetera, is only going to exacerbate some of the issues on 50, which are anticipated traffic impacts from developments. But this is a project that's on the books for the town and will be a real pivotal project for us, in my opinion. The Surf City Topsail Beach multi-use plan feasibility study. So this takes a multi-use path from the bridge on the island side all the way down through Topsail Beach. So that is in feasibility stage. The study will look at 3 alternative locations, and really when we're looking at alternates, we're looking at what side of the road on South Shore to put this on. Does it need to have a crossing in some location? Trying to lessen impacts from steep driveways along that road and general location of right-of-way, et cetera, as we traverse that corridor. So that project is moving forward. The R5877, the US 17 and 210 intersection express design, this is the continuous green tea project that will alleviate some congestion at that 210-17 intersection, allow for a merge movement for traffic to go southbound. And then, that's going to be one of those integral pieces as it'll it's somewhat tied to the Hampstead bypass project to continue to keep all of that traffic volume moving as we continue to see growth and development in our region, and those traffic volumes continue to increase. The East Coast Greenway feasibility study. This is a totally separate project, but somewhat interlinked with the Surf City Topsail Beach multi-use path feasibility study, as they're both the multi-use path projects that this town has been seeking for a number of years. So the third steering committee meeting was held in October. A public meeting was held on November 14th here in this room. And then moving forward, the consultant who's working under the Council of Governments will continue meeting with stakeholders, begin the high-level cost estimates with the project, and then provide the proposed locations with possible spur trails. And we are expecting a draft final report to be delivered to the town at the end of February. So this will give us an opportunity to start looking at that, how we might be able to phase that program, and then start budgeting for creating a project for this, and then also having other tools to potentially seek grant opportunities to build segments of the multi-use path. So again, another exciting project moving forward that we'll be able to work on. I'm not going to go through all of these, but this is the development review project status for each site plan, subdivision, or rezoning that is going through that process. So again, one I'll point out real quick is just Applewood Trace will come back to you February 9th, or excuse me, come back to Planning Board February 9th. This is a continuation of what's in the current review process. On the building inspection side, Mr. Paget, the one-man band over there. So these are just some numbers from December 19th to January 18th. 46 permits being issued, 227 inspections being completed, and then $22,193.38 from permit fees being collected. I wanted a comparison kind of from prior years. And then there's an outlier here from last year. We had same time period. We had 112 permits issued, 277 inspections completed. We had a huge increase in revenue. That was from the Bishop Creek Apartments. So that was a one-time type of deal. So we look at sort of projecting revenue and trends, and want to look at these things, especially as we continue to move forward and unpredictable financial circumstances that may come up in future years that may impact revenue into our community development department. So you can see that the year prior to that, 77 permits issued, number of inspections generally consistent, but then revenue being collected was a little bit higher. So we may have had a bigger project come through with this. So don't look at just this 1 month as a steady trend or anything like that. We'll take a full yearly snapshot to look that over. So emergency management, James has been working with Dave on really digging into the public assistance disaster grants. They finalized the EM projects at the federal level and have transitioned to the state level to continue the closeout process. Additionally, they're working to close out 2 state level open projects associated with Florence. And as at the state level closeout, that reimbursement occurs. So again, kudos to James really digging into this stuff and finding some open projects from Florence, that had not been closed out. This was one of the big ones was our crossovers and crossover construction. So we were able to find that and get the information that the state needs to get us a check. I think that's $70-some thousand that we'll see back. 44,000, but nonetheless, things that'll just go back into our general fund that were just kind of hanging out there. So in addition to larger radio projects currently underway, they're working on, they took delivery of 6 new radios that will be placed in service as cash assets. The new units will augment the UHF cache EM currently shares with Parks and Recreation, and will bolster our ability to communicate during special events and incident responses. Again, having everybody on the same level of communication is very important. And then as we continue to progress through our radio projects and the needs of the town, at some point we'll be able to transition staff into field staff into utilizing radios as opposed to having to get on the cell phone to call one another if they're traveling throughout town. Much quicker, much more efficient to get that message across and make sure everybody is getting that message, because everybody will be able to listen into what's going on or what those needs are. So in addition to that, the emergency operations plan needs to be updated and reauthorized. So James is working on that project and has that planned out for your April work session. James, and I believe it's Chief Wilson, are part of this, part of the local emergency planning committee. So we're working with other jurisdictions, Pender County, Pender EMS and Fire, as a collective group to review things that are necessary and making sure we're all prepared. And then they're also working, as noted in the new residence packet, to get information out in regards to the Make a Plan, Get a Kit, and Stay Informed framework. And then, James and I working together to identify target communication audiences for just being overall prepared, and not just for hurricanes, but other things that may come up. Moving on to fire department, just some general statistics from 2022. 1,100 emergency responses, which is a 16% increase from last year, and an 89% increase from 5 years ago. 1,400 apparatus responses, which very consistent, a 16% increase from last year. 812 completed fire inspections, which is a 37% increase from last year, 50% increase from 5 years ago. But then, as Chief notes, data point is a little skewed due to multiple inspections for the new Surf City School during that year. Chief is still working with the repair shop on old engine 25. The cab has been painted, is hoping to get an updated completion date, essentially moving us towards surplusing these vehicles and getting them off the books as we receive delivery of the 2 new trucks. The work with the Helbig Foundation on new sponsorship program for beach condition flags and rescue can continues. Is it okay if Chief, I announce about the auxiliary stuff? Or, and then Chief shared with me yesterday, the auxiliary at their last meeting has committed to funding the jet ski for our ocean rescue program. So, we will not commit to that being in service during this season. As we all know, there's a lot of training, a lot of just background information that's going to have to go into that program. But this is, again, meeting one of those strategic plan goals that we set out to provide that level of response for our ocean rescue program. So, we appreciate the auxiliary, the work that they do, certainly to support the efforts of the fire department. As they've taken on this sort of new element, that's outside of our traditional response and recovery efforts that they do, suppression efforts. So just want to give that shout out and thank you, Chief. So they're also going through some significant personnel changes. We had the 2 retirements that we recognized, Captain Speakman and firefighter Feel, but we did have some promotions. We've got firefighter Citarelli was promoted to captain, firefighter Collins promoted to lieutenant, firefighter Tassi promoted to lieutenant, and then a series of part-time firefighters that have been promoted to full-time. and then a couple of new folks that have moved into that part-time role, and then, of course, moving some additional staff into the volunteer ranks of our department that provide, critical assets to what they do, and being able to bolster our shifts, when they come in and respond. Captain Jones has been working on completing the annual hydrant testing for the town. Firefighter Van Pelt has been working on residential smoke alarm installations for citizens in need through our OSFM grant program. Deputy Chief Hobbs continues to work with ocean rescue staff on swimming proficiencies. Again, they're training year-round. We've got a good partnership with Coastal Fitness. They use their pool during the winter so that they can stay sharp, and they're not just preparing when the ocean waters are warm. So again, program work that they're doing year-round. And then again, Deputy Hobbs has been working with various vendors to work through supply shortages, secure turnout gear for new members, and needed replacements. Several personnel have completed certification courses. So again, Firefighter Benefield, EMT, which I know is a bigger goal for him. Captain Citarelli, Level 1 Standard Fire Inspector. Firefighter Van Pelt, Standard Fire Inspector. Fire Marshal Burton, his Level 3 Fire Inspector coursework continues to move forward. Lieutenant Collins, Level 1 Fire Inspector coursework. And then Firefighter Hubbard with his Level 1 Fire Inspector coursework. And all these folks are being cross-trained so that they can supplement ultimately Fire Marshal Burton's workload, and can be another asset for the department. And then again, Fire Marshal Burton has been working with the contractors at Bishop Creek Apartments on their fire alarm and sprinkler installation requirements. Also been working with Triton Village 2 on their final inspections. So IT, they're working on renewal costs for our access control system, focusing on reduction in the costs in the future, working on budget. IT is one of the departments asked to work with all departments to find out what their needs are, and help guide them through that process. And then, we generally have a 5-year computer replacement or system replacement plan. So that's working with Fire Station 23, completed an entire computer system refresh and wireless revamp, and wastewater treatment plant, new computer monitor for the director over there. Currently working on reviewing network security, routers, and switches. That process to be ongoing for the next couple of months. Looking at policy modifications and traffic flow for the town. Reviewing, completing an inventory of all technology assets. Preparing to host the upcoming Topsail and Shoreline Protection Committee meeting. Making sure everything is good to go. As a reminder or notification, that the TISPC has changed their meeting dates to meet every other month as opposed to every month, and then the town of Surf City will continuously host those meetings, because we have, again, not knocking anybody else, but Jason and his team and Chris over there have really put together a robust audio and video, and really it's premier over any other meeting location that we have. So I look at that as a compliment to our IT department and our facilities here, that they would want to do that. And then Jason continues to work on trying to identify solutions for council, for planning board, and anybody who uses this room. Initially thinking that 85-inch TV would be sufficient, but looking at that from here, it gets very hard to decipher and read. We brought in the smart board for really other uses, EM uses mainly that we had. It's been a good asset, but Jason's going to look at trying to install little monitors up at the dais for council to take advantage of presentations that you can look at. So, Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. So we do have a new staff member, Mila Holt, new athletic program assistant. So she grew up playing sports and excited to be a part of running athletics for our community. She'll work with Mr. Braxton over there in that segment of PRT. Working on with staff prepare the budget for next fiscal year. The Welcome and Event Center renovations are underway. We had to do some joist work, replace all the subflooring in the kitchen area and the IT closet, another storage area, not the entire Welcome Center. And I'll show you some pictures here in a second. Continue to work with McAdams on the Earl G. and Inez Batts Recreation Complex. They're in the works of finalizing those surveys. Met with Joe Mack to discuss potential lighting plans for parks and recreation facilities. Presented the current site plan for the Batts Recreation Complex to the Beautification Enhancement Committee on Tuesday night. And then Jody met with wildlife facility construction engineer to go over the upcoming public fishing accesses at the Surf City Community Center slated to start in February. So that's another exciting project that will provide a freshwater fishing opportunity for our community over at the pond adjacent to the dog park and the community center over there. So really looking forward to that. Also in talks, it's not written on the update, but in talks with wildlife on their efforts to make enhancements to the boat ramp. So that project will be slated next year to do the improvements to put in the more traditional floating dock system, and then potentially looking at trying to pave some high travel lanes within the park. But they are having to apply for grant funds to see if they can get that additional non-program money, and that goes through the what we call the CRFL, but the Coastal Recreational Fishing License grant fund opportunity. So this is some images of the flooring work that is underway at the Welcome Center. So you can see the subfloor replacement, IT closet being on the left, the kitchen in the middle, and then the storage closet on the right. So those are underway, and hopefully we'll be wrapping up soon. The Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Advisory Committees, they, as we already addressed this, but approved the summer camp fees and the new slogan. In addition to that slogan, we will be putting together some policy documents on how that slogan is to be used. It's not to replace other things that the town has had. It's not to go under the seal just for general use, and we want those guiding policies so that staff knows how that slogan is to be used, and we're not misrepresenting anything when we put that out there. Then the Tourism Promotion Special Event Subcommittee, they're working with the marketing consultant to update the target to focus on Surf City as a spring break destination in our upcoming digital platform, digital promotions, finalizing the 2023 Year of the Trail event and social media promotions, and then the Surf City Expo coming up March 4th at 10 a.m. So you can mark your calendar. That's usually a pretty successful event for our vendors and local businesses to be able to participate in that. I know I've gone every year, I believe, since I've been here, and it's always packed full of people. So upcoming programs and events. So we have our January wellness calendar here. That's also on the website. We do need additional wellness instructors for programs. We've got a pelvic health and yoga workshop coming up, youth and adult soccer, adult and teen basketball, and the Surf City Expo, as previously mentioned. So this is just a overview of the flyers and promotional materials that Parks Department puts together so that we can get our community engaged in what's going on. Moving on to utilities, so the reuse and dune irrigation system, it's currently in the RFQ process, award schedule for March. Our high rate infiltration project, hydrology and design is complete. Expected to submit for permitting within 30 days, so that's exciting. Our master plan, revising the model per DEQ's recommendation, resubmittal for speculative limits to occur within 30 days, and that's really the design guidelines that we will have to adhere to for this discharge permit for that. Well 6, Sebaqueous Crossing, y'all awarded a contract at your last meeting for that. So that was tentatively approved, waiting approval by DEQ. And then the additional funds, that are going to be made available to us to go ahead and fund our brine discharge project. Price and I talked about this earlier this week. That's a 0.1% interest loan. Whereas working with our finance department, understand that cash in the bank is yielding 4 to 5%, so it'll make good fiscal sense to move in that direction, to put it under this low interest loan and loan forgiveness program that's afforded to us through the ASADRA program that's administered at the state. SCADA upgrade. SCADA is the technology behind our utility assets, essentially. So the equipment is constructed, propagation study is in process, and then project completion expected within 45 days. So SCADA provides us to be more resilient, know what's going on. If we have a leak somewhere, we can address that. Notification sent directly to the operator or whomever is on call for that. And then the subsurface irrigation project, the hydrology and design is in process right now. Capital projects continued. So the island water tower, 30% of the structural repair completed. Cell phone carriers are currently transitioning from that water tower. Complete rehabilitation to be completed by June 1, 2023. And sort of, the painting will come much earlier, and then they're going to have to go and put that on the corral, put the cell towers back up, and that'll take some time. The brine discharge permit, as I have mentioned and sent to y'all as an update, the draft permit was received January 12th, so it's currently in 30-day public comment period before receiving final permit and beginning design. The stormwater feasibility project, or the Delmar stormwater project, so we successfully submitted for the Lassie grant and awaiting award notice by the end of February. This was for the additional $400,000 to expand that stormwater study to encompass the entire town. However, the consultant is continuing to forge on with the Delmar specific, and then also looking at potential stormwater implications on how the town can set up long-term management of stormwater needs. And we look forward to bringing forth that presentation and discussion at your retreat on the 28th. That'll be a big element of your retreat, some decisions to be made on that. The digester project, this is adding another digester basin over at the wastewater treatment plant. That's currently in design, expected completion early 2025. That provides for additional biological treatment of wastewater and ultimately a cleaner effluent that we'll be able to produce. The AMI project, or Advanced Meter Infrastructure, town staff is currently installing the last 25 meters of the original 4,000 needed to be changed out as part of this project. Currently in negotiation to launch the customer portal. When live, a demonstration will be given to council and several open houses for the public so that they know how to go in, create an account, and identify and look at what their water usage is. What things, again, I've preached on this, a lot with this AMI project. One, it was a massive project to undertake, so I think that was executed very well and certainly much appreciated. We have had some hiccups in there, but ultimately nothing that we could not handle, and even dealing with supply chain issues on those meters, again, we're down in the short hairs of the last 25 meters to get done. But when we had that cold snap over Christmas, we were able to reach out to customers and let them know that we had high consumption alerts, and we're able to contact our residents and let them know of things going on, so that they could get somebody in to fix that issue. And we're not producing and treating additional water to go to that, based on a leak. So again, just a good project in my opinion for the AMI. And then the cross connection control program will finish the last of its installs this spring. This program originally started in 2016 and will bring Surf City into complete compliance with all state and federal laws. So in other news, the Utility Department is expecting to publish the 2022 Annual Wastewater Treatment and Collections Report next month. It is required to be completed every year, and we make these things available to the public. Same thing for the local water supply plan. That is required to be completed every year. This looks at, infringements on our wellhead protection areas, et cetera, how we're handling all of that. Utility Department is expecting to complete the Water System Consumer Confidence Report in June of 2023, another requirement to be completed every year. And then another gift handed down through EPA is the lead service line inventory. So this a mandate that our Utilities Department inventory all service lines connected to the water system to include material size, install date, and privately owned treatment units, both on the city and privately owned portion of the service. Essentially, they're looking for any sort of lead pipe connections and those issues being identified and resolved. So again, a gift from EPA down to us. So. And then lastly, in the report this morning, just real quick, go over HR. So HR is revising performance evaluation forms. So we met yesterday to go over all of these, to make sure that they are consistent, they're standardized, and then making sure that we are collecting the information that we need to further our, ultimately our performance in the town, tying those back to that performance pay, merit-based pay, creating goals that are smart, and then also tying those goals back to our core values of the town. So again, really just bolstering the review process, providing opportunities to departments to modify based on their individual departmental needs. Our utilities department evaluation may be different than our parks and recreation, but still making sure that those baseline consistencies are there, so that we can have evaluations done in an equal manner. So working with finance to establish draft departmental budget, advertising for numerous open positions, and then interviewing for working with department heads to assist with interviewing in open positions. I will note that I've got 4 interviews scheduled next week for our open finance director position. So I will conduct those again. Mr. Sirkin, our COG director, will come up and assist with those, and Lydia as well, to try and get another finance director in here. And then ongoing projects, reviewing personnel handbook, creating forms and processes on our NeoGov platform, which is really streamline a lot of our onboarding processes, is that everything can be sent to that new employee digitally. They can complete specific forms for insurance, for deductions, whatever those things might need to be, just making those a streamlined effort. And then, of course, always reviewing and updating job descriptions as those positions become vacant. We have a process in place in which department heads review those to make sure that the core functions, the knowledge, skills, and abilities are up to date. Make any tweaks, those get reviewed and approved and documented for that, and then we re-advertise that position. So then committee reports. So the Employee Appreciation Committee, so they're moving into their new year. So we try to have refresh employees on that committee, get new voices and recommendations for how we can recognize our employees throughout the year. So that's deal with the meeting schedule, and then upcoming employee events. And HR utilizes that planning to set up the budget for employee appreciation every year. So with that, I will make this available to council for your review, and certainly welcome any feedback on this presentation. My assumption is that we will sort of make this a more efficient process as we're giving updates on major projects, but of course, more than happy to provide as much information to y'all as we possibly can, so.
Thank you. It was a great update. It's nice to hear all that's going on in each department. And I think a lot of times, some departments might like they just get overlooked, or what's going on there and we don't really know. So having that report was very insightful for us to see. I just wanted to make one remark before we leave. I think this is Dave's last meeting with us. Right? Is this your last meeting with us, Dave? Yeah, we're gonna miss you. Yeah. Okay.
Next Friday.
Yep.
Coming here gave me some more hope about where you work, how you feel about where you work. So I want to say that to you.
Thank you very much.
Dave has been.
Job you done. Stand up, Dave.
One thing I certainly appreciate, among many things, but department heads were able to build a rapport with Dave and go to him for advice, and him be able to provide that advice and talk through certain issues, as opposed to just doing things as we've always done them. For example, this budget amendment for the lawnmowers. Really looking at that, and Dave and I being able to dissect some of that and say, ultimately, the money we save in interest, we can buy a new mower. So being able to make those decisions confidently with Dave's advice certainly is appreciated, and I think, I'll speak on behalf of all the department heads. They appreciate you, Dave, so we appreciate that, so.
Any further discussion? Can we have a motion to adjourn? Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose, the same. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Can we meet at 7 next month?
I'm saying 6.